I'd like us to consider from the book of Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. It's maybe an infamous text in the scriptures. Why? It's one that is not often loved. One that many persons would rather it not be there. There are some who are bold enough to say, I question the writings of Paul or Shaul. But in writing to Timothy, the minister, and by extension to the assemblies under his care, he bears the Father's heart for his people by way of instruction. And so in verse 9 of 1 Timothy chapter 2, having said some things in the previous verses, he came to another junction. He says, in like manner, also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array. That again? It's the same thought, same sentiment I shared when these words were brought to my heart a few months ago. One that I was compelled to revisit, because I felt this strong impression and a deep conviction that I believe was the Spirit of Yahweh bringing this text back into my purview for me to think deeply on it and to expound upon it. Only this time I am specifically led to look at it within its historical and cultural context, so that we should not be ignorant, because many of us are very sincere. We love Mashiach, we love Yahweh, but in many things we can be ignorant because something else had replaced it. Some of the opinion or some of the tradition has replaced the ancient words as they were understood and applied. Yahweh doesn't want us to be ignorant. So my topic today, and I shared it in Kingston, so my family will be hearing it the third time because I shared it content. But I felt it's something that needs to be said to those that are called out for his name. And so, a fresh look at Paul's instruction on biblical modesty within its historical and cultural context. Within its historical and cultural context. How were these instructions understood by the first recipients of the first century? How were these words executed and walked out in their daily walk? Having come to an understanding of these things, I recognize that I would like to stand before the judgment seat of Mashiach and give a good account of my stewardship. As someone who handles the word and teach it, because those who teach receive the greater condemnation. So we want to handle the word in sincerity and in truth. The faith that was once delivered to the saints has become so subverted over the millennium by the apostate doctrines, that so much so that many pastors and assemblies who seek to walk the ancient paths have become intimidated to the point where they have lost the boldness to speak with strong conviction on many important subjects. The biblical modesty is one such subject. There are those who are afraid to touch it because they don't want to offend anybody. There are those who are afraid, who don't want to touch it because they want to get at everybody. And it is such a touchy subject. The biblical modesty is at the very heart of our Father Yahweh. So much so that in the opening chapters of the Bereshit of Genesis, Yahweh himself took upon it himself to stipulate, to put in place what modesty to him is all about. Because what Adam and Eve had contrived was deeply inadequate. And he set the tone from the beginning. So it's a very important subject. Modesty is the guardian of Yahweh's Kadesha, Yahweh's set-apartness. Modesty is the guardian of Yahweh's holiness. But the apostate gospel had so subverted the ancient truths that many times we're left with something so different from that which was originally given and once delivered to the saints. Paul was so careful when he wrote to the Galatian believers, and it says, I marvel that you so removed from him that called you into the favors of Messiah unto another gospel, which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert, corrupt, subvert, transmute, change the very form and substance and nature of the good news of Mashiach. But though we are an angel from heaven, preach any other good news unto you than that which we have preached unto you originally, let him be accursed. As we said before, so I say now again, if any man preach any other good news unto you than that you have received, let him be accursed. That was how intense and how serious Paul felt about preserving the good news and to defend it against a subversion, a counterfeit that was subtly beginning to take inroads into the original, into the common salvation that was once and for all delivered to the saints. And if it was so urgent for Paul to say then in the first century, 2,000 years, far removed, what can we say to these things? If it was necessary for Jude to write of the common salvation, and in the midst of writing about the common salvation, the Spirit turned him and said, needful for me to write to you to contend for the faith once delivered to the saints, for the men that are creeping in and have crept in, subverting, corrupting, changing the very substance and nature of the good news of the kingdom, the good news of Yeshua. So he said to them, O Galatians, you are run well. You've been running well. But what hinder you from believing the truth? There is a subverted doctrine, a an apostate gospel with its apostate doctrines that has subverted the original good news once delivered to the saints. This apostate gospel is a gospel of compromise. It's a gospel of worldly conformity. It's a gospel of assimilation and syncretism, meaning blending and mixing. Watch out for it, saints. COI is not impervious to it. It can creep upon us. So the Galatians were running well, but something was preventing them from obeying the truth. Running well, but not obeying the truth. What an oxymoron. What a contradiction. You did run well, but who cut in your path to prevent you from obeying the truth? So for us to fully understand what the Ruach is saying through Paul's writing to the assemblies in regards to biblical modesty, it is important to look not just at the language of the scriptures, but also at the text in its historical and cultural context. Then we can draw from the timeless wisdom of Paul's instruction and apply them to our time and to our culture. We have often heard persons saying, believers saying, Christians saying, that was Paul's time, or that was in Yeshua's time, or that was then, that was in the earliest time. It's not applicable to us, really. Whatever were written for our Why is it important to look at 1 Timothy 2 verse 9 in its historical and cultural context? Because, saints, listen, ancient Roman world was as decadent and immoral as our own time. It's the same. Our modern culture mirrors that of ancient Rome and has evolved just the same way. However, the good news of Messiah had a dramatic effect upon the moral and customs of that culture and society when the good news exploded. How it was in the first century, so it is with us today. It is difficult, for it was difficult to maintain biblical modesty in an immodest age. And so these words become so important for us. The International Biblical Encyclopedia, 1915 edition, contains an interesting commentary on the changes in character and condition of women wrought by the good news. It states, and I quote, "They no longer needed the former splendor of outward adornment, because they were clothed with beauty, with the beauty and simplicity of the Christ-like character. They exchanged the temples, theaters, and festivals of paganism for the holy, labored with their hands, cared for their husbands and children, graciously dispensed Christian hospitality, nourished their spiritual life in the worship, service, and sacraments of the church, and in loving ministries to the sick. Their modesty and simplicity were a rebuke to and reaction from the shameless extravagances and immoralities of heathenism, that they were among the most conspicuous examples of the transforming power of Christianity. Is manifest from the admiration and astonishment of the pagan Libanius, who exclaimed, 'What women these Christians have!'" End of quote. The good news made such dramatic impact that there was a transformation of lives. There was a total reversal, like giving up, an exchange of the external for that which Messiah clothed them up with. We need not argue why women are singled out in this matter. It is said that women are the guardian of sanctity and the moral compass of a nation. They set the tone. They tell you where a nation's morality is by the modesty or lack thereof of women in that culture. And so Yahweh could say when you want Israel, do not prostitute your daughters, lest the land fall into whoredom. They set the moral compass. I will not be doing an exposition on the words that Paul used in the Greek when he says in modest apparel, which shamefacedness and sobriety. Those words are catastrophe, cosmios, haidos, and sophosuni. And they are translated as modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety. But let me just echo what my heart is deeply convicted of. I've always studied these words, and I've always done expositional teaching on these words because they captures. You see, the rock of Yahweh uses cosmios, adios, sophosuni, and katastoli to portray the dress and demeanor of faithful believers. We need to instill in the hearts of men who profess, and this is a quote I'm making, profess to be holy, and women who profess to be godly, an appreciation for the meaning of these words and their terms, their meaning. Translating their meaning from Greek into English, scholars use terms like decency, discreetly, moderation, modest, modestly, proper, propriety, seemingly, sensibly, shamefacedness, shamefastness, sobriety, and suitable. Taken as a whole, these terms portray an unmistakable sense of moderation and modest reserve. Rather than pushing us towards the brink of indecency and excess, they lead us away from all that is inappropriate and unseemly. Cumulatively, these words make it impossible for us to justify the various forms of immodest attire so prevalent in our culture. And the quote. So, the Spirit, I believe the rock sent me to look at a fresh approach, a fresh look at Timothy verse 9. 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 9. In an historical and cultural context. To bring this out. And as I begin to dig deeper into it, Paul's writing fits perfectly. It makes sense. You get the context of what he was saying. And why he was saying what he was saying. And so I want to share with you some excerpts from historical accounts. And then you will decide and let me share with you. Let us judge what Paul is saying. You see, it is fully documented that the Romans cared a great deal about the way they looked and could be quite fashion conscious. Understanding these fashions norms will give context to Paul's instruction to us through the instruction given to us in 1 Timothy 2 verse 9. So under the heading, Women Fashion in Ancient Rome, and you can do a research. Please note that I'm quoting not from religious text or religious account, but from a secular account. So there are no religious bias. You say, oh, it's a religious bias. This is a secular account of history. So the account that is preserved for us from history is, it says, historically, it is accounted that heavy gold jewelry was fashionable among Roman aristocrats in the 1st century AD. Around the same time, women wore gold earrings with pearls and necklaces made from small gold beads, diadem of gold laurels, and pearls with emeralds set in gold. Like the Egyptians, but unlike the Greeks, Romans were very fond of cosmetics and perfumes. Romans used foundation creams, astringents, cream, eyeshadows, eyeliners, lipstick, hair tint, and dyes, wigs. Even, in my research, and listen to this, even bikini was found in an archaeological expedition. I thought it was the work of the 1930s. Yes, I saw it. I wouldn't put it up here because I don't want to. A bikini, 1st century. So don't get over your heads. It's not a 19th century fashion innovation. No, it's not. The Romans had it before us.
All right.
It is believed that Roman women had access to almost every kind of makeup and makeup used by modern women, according to literary documents and archaeological findings. Just as the preacher declared, whatever was is what is, and whatever is what shall be. There is nothing new under the sun. This is a powerful statement. The more things change, the more things remain the same. So, it says, clothing fashions of Roman women remain relatively simple and unchanging. And as a consequence, women had no special dress that distinguished their status. There were two simple, that says stola. There were two main simple dress, toga and stola. Very simple. So it didn't distinguish the aristocrat from the commoners. Everybody wear a simple fashion of the 1st century Rome. So what would distinguish the status of the wealthy aristocratic woman from the common woman and from those of female slaves in regards to fashion statement? Because everybody pretty much wear the same style. Every woman will be wearing a toga or a stola. Now the stola was more a formal wear, or what the high class, not just the high class, but what women wear formal. The toga was worn by men and women, and by the 2nd century, it was exclusively worn by men. Women were forbidden to wear toga. It became a masculine adornment. Only a woman of the night would wear a toga after the 2nd century, because a toga could be worn very short. But this is the simple fashion depicted of 1st century Roman women, toga or stola. So what would make the distinction between high class, low class? Yes, that too, but silk. No, I want you to understand what Paul meant when he says costly apparel. Silk. Now listen to the history. By the 1st century BC, Roman aristocrats wore silk garments at the beginning of the Christian era. Rome was importing so much silk that Roman Emperor Tiberius prohibited Romans from wearing it. In 1 year, Rome reportedly paid 22,000 pounds of gold for silk. It was a drain on the coffer. So silk was what stola or toga would now be made, and that is what would distinguish the commoners from the aristocrat, because the normal fabric would have been wool and linen. The stola was usually worn, were made from wool, and the toga was to be made from linen or cotton. A famous first century Roman historian, Pliny the Elder, in his work Natural History, has this to say: the Cyrene, Chinese, but that's what they were called in Latin, the Cyrene are famous for the woolen substance obtained from their forest. After soaking in water, they combed off the white down of the leaves, because they thought that silk was taken from leaves. They know it was from silkworm. So manifold is the labor employed, and so distant is the region of the globe drawn upon to enable the Roman maiden to flaunt transparent clothing in public. So that was a rebuke. Let me read that last clause. So manifold is the labor employed, and so distant is the region of the globe drawn upon to enable the Roman maiden to flaunt transparent clothing in public. Please note, it was in this cultural context in which Paul gave the instruction in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. We are well aware that silk is a fabric that naturally clings to the body, revealing its form. There are fabrics today that naturally behave the same way, and many female attire are made from these fabrics. Another first century Roman historian, Seneca the Younger, who wrote between 3 BCE to 65 the Common Era, in his writing Declamations, Volume 1, has this to say, I quote: "The Senate issued in vain several edicts to prohibit the wearing of silk on economic and moral grounds." Economic and moral grounds. And here the reasons, and the economic part was quoted in a previous account. He continued, "The importation of Chinese silk caused a huge outflow of gold, and silk clothes were considered to be decadent and immoral." And he continued, "I can't see clothes of silk if materials that do not hide the body, nor even one's decency, can be called clothes. Wretched flocks of maids labor so that the adulteress may be visible through her thin dress, so that her husband has no more acquaintance than any outsider or foreigner with his wife's body." So what he was saying is that the married women were becoming gazing stock for men's lust. So two reasons why silk was being banned: the economic impact, and because it was considered to be decadent and immoral. Silk attire was revealing, exposing the female form, because it clings and falls, and how it was made. It wasn't more full like wool or linen or cotton. So the Romans themselves had a problem. Society had a problem. So it's easy for Paul, so you can see the context of Paul, not with costly array. So the costly array was the type of fabric that was used. And you can imagine a poor believing brother whose wife decided, when the new fabric trend come in, and said, "Honey, more silk. I don't want no more linen and cotton. More silk." Poor man. The expense that you would have to, it cost, or expensive it costs, and how that would impact the stability and the simplicity that clothe the body of Messiah. Imagine the pride and arrogance that sister now walks in with silk. Imagine the attention, the impact we have on worship. You don't want to sweating it too much. The immodest flowing of it over form, invoking lust, becoming a stumbling block. Biblical modesty demands that which is appropriate and fitting, that which honors and guards the sanctity of the woman's body and the body of Messiah. Taken from another account of history, I quote, women who worked as prostitutes were known to wear revealing silken garments that highlighted the curvature and the physical beauty of their bodies. This often upset Roman men, who believed that women who wore silk were scandalously inappropriate. Silk also proved to cause financial troubles for the Roman state. The silk trade drained so much money from the Roman treasury that Roman Emperor Tiberius complained that the ladies and their decorative trinkets are transferring our money to foreigners. He prohibited Romans from wearing silk. In 1 year, Rome reportedly, and I quote again, this is reported here, then in this other account, 22,000 pounds of gold for silk shipments. End of quote. Dressed in modest apparel, not in costly array. So you say that we can't buy silk? Tell your woman to dress in modest apparel, not in costly array. As women professing to be called out. You see, that it made a blaze in Rome. Everybody was in silk. You are called out. You can't be everybody. You can't be what every trend coming, every fashion coming, you jump into it. You are called out. You profess set apartness. Live it. Act it. You know, and I've said this oftentimes, and I'm saying it again, that sometimes I feel so bad that if you want something, if ministers want the assembly or assemblies to embrace certain things, collaborate with the world. Because the world, if the assembly, the ministry set certain standards, it will hardly be accepted. But when the world set it, it is an embarrassment. Because you see, if the assembly said, wear it long, hot, and then the world said, put out a style, wear it long, maxi, everybody know hot again, everybody know jumping on it. So the world dictates, do whatever more, command of the body of Messiah than the very body of Messiah itself. So it seems like if we need to get something done, collaborate with the fashion industry. So listen, we want you to make this type of fashion and put it up here. Because we like our people to. Natural here. Can't manage it because you have to curse the black woman's ear. Yes? So we Europeanize it. But then, in the secular world now, black women are coming to consciousness and going natural. And now most black men are going natural now. It's no more problem again. Because the world I do it, it's easy to be embraced. This is why this one speaks about those who love the world, make themselves enemy of Yahweh, and friendship with the world. As many times we try to convince ourselves that we are not worldly. But if you look very closely, you'll see who really dictates. So wealthy women wore luxurious, expensive material, highly elaborate hairstyles, wigs and makeup and expensive jewelry. End of quote. So you see, what was lacking in clothing, fashion, or style was made up with expensive fabric, cosmetics, and jewelry. And please note that the saints coexisted and functioned in these cultural trends. Conforming to the fashion was very alluring, saints. The temptation to assimilate had a very strong magnetic pull, especially on women in regards to fashion, saved and unsaved. Roman women originally dressed their hair with great simplicity. Simple hairstyle, it's a bit bright. For married women, changed during the reign of Emperor Augustus Caesar, when a variety of different and elaborate hairstyles came into fashion. So prior to this fashion trend exploding in Rome, and in the Greco-Roman society, in the time of Augustus Caesar, women wear their hair with great simplicity. That's what the account says. Women wore their hair with great simplicity. But then, wherever it came from, wherever it was imported from, but some fashion trends begin to take center stage. And oh, what a rave it brought. Simplicity was now under attack. Biblical modesty would eventually be invaded if it was allowed to creep into the assembly. So it became extremely necessary for Shaul to write, "Let your woman dress in modest apparel with sobriety and shamefacedness, not with gold or pearl, with braided hair." So by the 2nd and the 3rd century, we see the Latin church fathers in their writings strongly condemning the unbiblical fashion of Rome that had crept within their assemblies. So it went from simplicity in society to something elaborate. Women would spend hours. Much had been written from the secular and from the religious concerning fashion in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd century. The Latin church fathers wrote about it, and it's been preserved for us as to what they had to contend with, what they were standing up against because of the writings, the apostolic writings, and they want to maintain in regards to modesty for the body of Messiah and what society was pushing upon the assembly. It's no different from what we are encountering today, the challenges that we face today. I continue to quote, "The Roman hairstyles for women became more elaborate and an important sign of status. Various accessories were used to create elaborate and striking hairstyles. The accessories used to create elaborate hairstyles, some of which are as follows. Hairnets were worn made of finely woven gold wires. Wire supports were used to create hairstyles. Precious jewels were threaded into the hair, and jewels were featured in tiaras and headdresses." You see what's coming back? You see the braid with the little metal thing? Yes, that's Roman hairstyle. That's what it's called, braided hair. Gold and pearls were also popular as hair accessories and to create intricate hairstyles. So it's not just the hair being braided, it's braided decoratively with gold and pearls. So these are what I call braided hair. Decorated, if you're number one. That was why you see pearls lining. That's a Roman hairstyle, 1st century. These are what are called in the Greek plegma, translated as broided hair or braided hair. Plegma is to twist and deck the hair with gold and pearls, etc. Roman fashion was so ostentatious, it attracted much critics from its own people. One Roman wrote her friend, this is a woman writing her friend, and this is what she said, I quote, "While you remain at home, Gala, your hair is at the hairdresser's. You take your teeth out at night and sleep tucked away in 100 cosmetic boxes. Even your face does not sleep with you. Then you wink at men under an eyebrow you took out of a drawer the same morning." Is that descriptive of our culture? Exactly. Tucked away. Your face is tucked away in 100 boxes. Your face does not sleep with you. And the eyebrow, that eyelash that you wink at somebody the following morning, come out of one drawer. You're here. When you speak to me, your hair is a hairdresser. And this is not believers writing. These are unbelievers criticizing what was going on in the culture. That was to them was a shock because it was not common before it became a trend. They too were used to simplicity in society. And more so when the good news exploded, it caused women to move into simplicity or in these things. The poet Lucian wrote of that century, "If you could see women when they wake up in the morning, you would think them less desirable than him. That's why they keep themselves closeted and will not show themselves to a man." He continued, "Old hags and a chorus of sitting maids, no more glamorous than their mistress, surround her, plastering her wretched face with a variety of remedies. Countless concoctions are used, salves for the improving of her unpleasant complexion, jars full of mischief, tooth powder, and stuff for darkening the eyelids." That's a very harsh criticism, where you get the intensity of how they felt. Much more the people of Yahweh who are in these things. Let your women adorn themselves in modest, shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but that which becometh women who are confessing, professing, declaring that they are called out of darkness into his marvelous light. Yes. The Latin church fathers, as I mentioned, living in those early centuries, wrote extensively on the subject of Christian adornment against this cultural backdrop. Much of it, if you read it, would be deeply offensive to many of us. I've dictionary of the early beliefs of the Latin Church Fathers. And one of those topics, it's a big topic, subtopics were matters of modesty. And under that, jewelry, makeup, clothing, and all these things were written. And they wrote very strong language, comparable to what their secular counterparts were writing. Strong language, very offensive. If your minister should say these things, would have probably throw us out of the building. But these Latin Church Fathers wrote very strongly. And some of them were post-apostolic. Some of them were disciples of Yachanan, even Peter, maintaining the traditions of the faith that was delivered to the saints. To which modesty is an important subject. So a study of the church history can quickly remove the ignorance that covers our minds in regards to the evolution of Western fashion and shed light on its negative impact on biblical modesty and the work of sanctification in the believer's life down through the ages since the 1st century AD. Speaking to women in this cultural context who are called out of this world, sanctified and professing set-apartness, Paul gave strong instruction to those women who were conforming to the cultural norms around them, cultural practices that were not reflective of biblical standards of modesty, nor that which adorned the doctrine of Yeshua. To that Paul spoke, as he endorsed in Romans chapter 12 verse 2, and be not conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you might prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of Elohim. Paul did not speak in a vacuum, but in a cultural context that was reflective of the modern culture in which we today presently live. No different. The exact culture existed then is what we are living now. Because those who might not know that Americanization is to the 21st century assembly what Hellenization was to the 1st century assemblies. And if you do not know, Americanization is a revamping of Hellenization. And if you know history, you'll know that America came from Britain, which is Europe. And they brought up the same culture. If you know prophecy, you'll know that we are in the foot of iron, which is the Roman Empire. Though it is mixed with clay, it's still iron. And iron was descriptive of Rome. And in fact, Rome was a blending of Greece and Rome, which is called the Greco-Roman culture. It's a blending, a syncretism. That culture is what we are living in today. If you look in America, you'll see democracy is the gift of Rome to Western world. If you go into America, you see the architecture, Capitol Hill, Senate, Senator, the House. It is modeled off Rome. The same individualistic type of pursuit, the glorification of the human body, the pursuit of aesthetics and beauty and music and theater. We get theater straight from Rome. We get acting straight from Rome. The cinemas is a replica of the Roman theater. The circus, the sporting events, athletes were paid by the government in Rome. Gladiatorship, all these things are straight from Rome. The same rave that people make today of sports is the same rave. Rome spent most of their pastime in the pursuit of pleasure and entertainment. Today's culture is the same, the pursuit of pleasure and entertainment. In fact, the Roman Caesars made it their point of duty to keep the people distracted with entertainment of the Western world do with their people. Keep them distracted with entertainment. Same culture. And the message is still the same for us today. Come out of Babylon.
Yes, sir.
And be separate. Touch not the unclean thing. Receive not our curse. Biblical modesty have been constantly under attack down through the ages. Many Christian denominations that we see today have attempted to maintain or to return to biblical standards of the first century assemblies, came under strong opposition. Many of them stood their grounds, but lost a battle to the ravages of an immodest world. When you do your research, all notable denominations, the Moravians, the Baptists, the Methodists, the Congregationalists, holiness movements, all of them in their history pursue to return to a primitive apostolic practice of the faith. Holiness, modesty, sanctification in dress, and all that relates to it was part of their high doctrines. They stood their ground, they fought. Today they are in the stockpile. Littered history. Battles fought, eventually lost. Society, the culture, eventually won. And today, the remnants of these groups, if you go amongst them, you'll see a nominal spirit. You'll see the decadence of what is in the world reflecting in the very halls and pews and pulpits. Many who stood their ground under the pressure, only to eventually buckle under the bombardments. Is your wife becoming a victim? I'll be bowing under the pressure. I remember in my youth, growing up at West Road, when someone joined the fellowship through repentance and baptism, they were told what the standards of feminine adorning was. There was a time when we did not allow the wearing of jewelry, or women were not allowed to wear pants, to paint their faces, to paint their nails, not even to process their hair. All because of this instruction, fundamentally, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9, and Peter 3. Gradually, little by little, we begin to conform to what the apostle in his letter to Timothy forbids. It seems that we have been losing that visible mark that was very descriptive of us. Will we become progressively indistinguishable from the unbiblical fashions and standards of the world from which we are called? Can I recognize that the people of Yahweh, like ancient Israel, can practice Torah and still be in a state of apostasy? So much so that Yahweh could say, I hate and I despise your Sabbaths, your new moon and new month I cannot bear, your offering and your songs and your voice and your instrument, away with it. I cannot bear it. Because they were in a state of apostasy, but they were practicing the ceremonies and the rituals. So do not believe that having Shabbat and knowing the names and keeping the Moedim in and of itself mean that we can't be in a state of apostasy. A word came to my heart, and I believe it was very prophetic, and I speak with boldness. And when I was here the last time, and I remember before my word, I shared what came into my spirit. And the word, I repeat it again, that came to me, I had to stop and start to write what was coming in my heart. And the words were, the assembly that is in a state of apostasy will diminish in its sanctification and continue to diminish as the time of Messiah draws near. But those who keep their garments in the body of Messiah will abound in true righteousness and set apartness more and more. The love of Yahweh in the hearts of the lukewarm people will wax cold, but the true Israel of Yahweh will be consumed with the fervent zeal of his spirit as the coming of Yeshua draws near. The standards of set-apartness or holiness among the apostates will conform more and more to that of the world, while the standards of those who are called out of darkness will be lifted up and ever increasingly manner as the coming of Messiah draws near. There will be a marked difference between the children of light and the children of darkness, between the foolish and the wise, as the day of Yahweh draws near. I cry because I look around us, upon us, because I'm not going to look about and what's out there, I'm going to look on us. And I become deeply concerned and very nervous, because we ought to be amongst those who are lifting up the standards higher and higher. As the day gets darker and darker, we shine brighter and brighter. As the apostate people conform more and more to the world, we are transformed more and more by the renewing of our mind. As they get more alike, we become more different. We move to a different beat, we dance to a different tune. We have no fellowship, no communion. Many are ignorant and don't understand, because we can find ourselves measuring ourselves with ourselves and comparing ourselves with ourselves. We can look at what the assembly was like 200 years ago and believe that was the hallmark standard. But no. If we're going to look at the standard, we have to go way back. Way, way back to the first century. And the testimony that was left. Way back. Because if we don't go way back, we might fall short of what we are comparing ourselves with. Way back. Let's look into this text a little bit more. How difficult is it to understand the parts of speech not with? It is a prohibitive clause that is written in 1 Timothy 2 verse 9. In like manner, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair, gold or pearl, or costly array. Let me give you an example that I wrote down. Please cook my favorite pasta, but not with salt. The chef was told to prepare rice and peas for the guest, but not with powdered coconut milk. How would that be interpreted? Not with coconut milk, right? Not with salt. So why is it there in plain? They're still not with. Not with coconut powder. The real thing. Cook my rice and peas, not with coconut powder, which means I'm going for the broken coconut, grate it and blend it, and cook my rice and peas. Like the old-fashioned way. Not with Grace Maggie coconut powder, or Maggie or Grace coconut powder. Or handle, yeah. Not with. Not with is a prohibitive clause. The ERV version says, I want the women to make themselves attractive in the right way. Their clothes should be sensible and appropriate. They should not draw attention to themselves with fancy hairstyles or gold jewelry or pearls or expensive clothing. Someone will say, so will I be shut out of the kingdom for such trivial matters? For how I by adorning myself with jewelry? Or also because of how I adorn my hair? That's ridiculous. Is Yahweh petty? We can argue that way, can't we? You reject the kingdom because we are gold and pearl. Yahweh not petty. But who are we to decide what is trivial or what is not? To Yahweh. Who are we to decide what Yahweh deems petty and what is of grave importance to him? When it is revealed in his word, who are we? Someone will say, shouldn't we, well, you majoring on the minor and minoring on the major? No, absolutely not. We are required to fulfill all righteousness. This you should do without leaving the others undone. So saints, do you think the commands given in 1 Timothy chapter 2 verse 9 is still applicable and relevant for the body today? You sure? So let's obey. Not with. Not with. Let me show you how deceptive the enemy is. And how misleading translators can be with the very text that Paul wrote. In the CEV version, it says, I would like women to wear modest and sensible clothes. They should not have fancy hairdos or wear expensive clothes or put on jewelry made of gold or pearls. How can that be interpreted? It means, they should not have fancy hairdos or wear expensive clothes or put on jewelry made of gold or pearls. What about jewelry that are not made of gold and pearl? Is that okay? What about costume jewelry? Is that okay? What about we're not going to wear those that are made of gold and pearl, but we can wear some other type of jewelry. Wash over. The God Words translation says, I want women to show their beauty by dressing in appropriate clothes that are modest and respectable. Their beauty will be shown by what they do, not by their hairstyle or gold jewelry or pearl or expensive clothes they wear. What that is saying? It is saying that they wear it. It's just that their beauty will not be shown by what they wear, which is gold and pearl and expensive clothes. That's what the translation is saying. Their beauty should be not shown by the hairstyle or the gold jewelry or pearl or expensive clothes they wear. So you have to be wearing it. It's not allowing it to be the focus. That's what it's saying. It even gets more subverted. The WEB translation, World English Bible, 1 Timothy 2 verse 9 says, and I want you to listen very keenly, in the same way that women also adorn themselves in decent clothing with modesty and propriety, not just with braided hair, gold, pearls, or expensive clothing. Do you get that one?
Yes.
The text is twisted just before our eyes. What does not just with implies? These plus other things. Let me put it in the same statement. Listen to these two statements. And I'm talking now to Sandra. Sandra, please prepare my water salad, not just with lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, cucumber. What am I saying?
Can have those.
We can have these
and
other things, not just with these things. Okay. Let me put it another way now. Sandra, please prepare my water salad, not with lettuce, tomatoes, cheese, cucumbers. What am I saying? So, the word in this Bible totally subvert Paul's writing. Paul says not with, and then put not just with.
Just one word.
Not with them say. In fact, they might add more to it. They might get a license to multiply. Not just with these things, but with any other thing you want to add. Fancy hairdos. Head covering is a doctrine of the body of Messiah. Today, in many assemblies, to maintain and to show the fancy hairdo, head covering has been reduced to doilies, excuses, and some that catch so as not to disturb the fancy hairdos. It is wrong. It is contrary to the instruction for the body of Messiah. Cover the head.
Yes.
Doilies is not head covering. Tapi ayamolk is not head covering. Skull cap is not head covering. The word is veil, to cover. Catch up something on the front of the head is not head covering. Or at the back, or at the side, like barret, like the regiment. That's not head covering, people of Yahweh. So a prohibitive clause has been changed to a clause of non-limitation. Not just with a clause of non-limitation. You are not limited, not just with this. A prohibitive clause is changed to a clause of non-limitation. No wonder Peter, addressing these type of people, when he says in 2 Peter 3 verse 14 going down, wherefore, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, be diligent that you may be found in him in peace, without spot
or wrinkle,
and blameless, above reproach, not tainted, unspotted from the world, on account that the long suffering of our Master is salvation, even as our beloved brother Shaul also, according to the wisdom given unto him, hath written unto you. Paul's words are not written for the unlearned and the unstable, for he says, as also in all his epistle, speaking of them, of these things, in which some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned mean ignorant, and unstable mean that what? Unsteadfast, vacillating, rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own instruction. I was very interested in the word rest. For it says that they rest, Paul's writing. It's from the Greek word striblu. It means to wrench. That is to torture, to pervert. It comes from the root word to twist, to turn around, to convert from one form to another. So they have twisted and changed Paul's writing as they do the other scriptures to their own destruction, because they are unlearned and unstable. Saints of Yahweh, we are a people for his name. His name. Not a title, but his name. And that name is to be represented in its fullness. For the name of Yahweh alone is Kodesh. It is set apart. We are called out of an immodest culture, to an modest walk in life in all that we do and say and speak. So if we are walking contrary, saints, whether we are from Kingston or Clarkstown or Content or Paisley or Yorkland or the US or the Eastern Caribbean or UK, the apostles and the assembly of Yahweh, the first century, did not walk in that way. They embraced, and in simplicity of obedience, obey these words. Paul could say, and it is legitimate, can be legitimately applied here. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 16, it says, if any man seems to be contentious, we have no such customs, neither the assemblies of Yahweh. Another version puts it this way: this is how things are done in all of Yahweh's assemblies. And that's why none of you should argue about what I have said. Some people may want to argue about this, but we and the assemblies of Yahweh do not accept what those people are doing. So if we're doing it, Yahweh's word don't accept it. And if you want to be contentious about it, it was not the custom of the early assembly. It was not. And it is not subjected to personal culture or particular time. It is timeless. Modesty is timeless. Biblical modesty is timeless. Shamefacedness and sobriety is timeless. And might I add that we live in a similar culture in which Paul wrote. And no doubt if Paul should arise and come to life and should visit assemblies today, he would say the same thing. Tell your woman to dress in modest apparel, not with gold, not with braided hair or gold or pearl or costly array. He would say the same thing because it would be the same culture. Simplicity exemplified and adorned by the teachings of Messiah, by which Yahweh beautified the meek. It's something that exudes from within, that no outer embellishment can ever override and gainsay. So Peter says they do this to their own destruction, their own peril. I close or bring to a conclusion. That's first century modest hairstyle. Roman woman. When I look in my research on the catacombs that have been preserved and writings of men and women, you see a simplicity of adorning and modesty that is so outstanding. Artwork, your motifs, their drawings, it brings simplicity and modesty of an attire that is so striking. In my research, it takes me to the turn of the 19th century, because prior to that, holiness movements were very big on modesty of attire. But it says that during the turn of the 19th century, it went into hiding. It was no longer pushed. And churches become settled in a compromising world. And all type of immodest fashion and worldly fashion came in by droves. Numbers increased, but we're twice a child of hell. Because we do not want to be fulfilled upon us, but Yeshua spoke very strongly against the scribes and the Pharisees. Woe to you who encompass sea and land to make a proselyte, a convert. And when you make him a convert, you make him twice a child of hell than yourselves. We do not want that to be ministry. We want to make convert children of the kingdom, not children of hell. And today many converts are made, but you're made twice shall have hell than those who converse with them. Because they understand not what the faith is. Because many today do not understand what the faith looks like of the early assembly. They don't know what it looks like or what it looked like. I was brought to two women. One, Revelations 12 verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And was brought to another woman in Revelation chapter 17 verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 arms. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colored and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Spiritually, both women's external depiction conveys something deep. Which woman best describe us? Which woman do we reflect? Consider you. Pearls and costly array, guarded hair. Which woman best describes us? Who do we reflect? One was adorned with heavenly splendor. One was decked. Strong language. Gold, pearl, and precious. Decked, purple. Having in her hand a cup full of abomination, fornication, by which the whole world is made drunk. Which women do we reflect in spirit and decorum? Two women, two depiction, two kingdom. Who do we reflect? Who are we called to reflect? Paul's instruction and biblical modesty in its historical and cultural context. May we draw from the wisdom and the timelessness of its application. May we apply them to our walk. Ancient word, ever true. Changing me, change you. Ancient words. Shalom.